this whole beach was completely covered in dicks and somebody said I had to eat every dick until the beach was clean for liberty, I would say no problemo.
Hi, I'm Nick.
I'm Hunter.
And, well, we are usually a podcast where we go through actors' filmography and most prolific work, but we're not doing that today. Today, we are talking about the very new, the Suicide Squad 2021.
The very the.
It's
literally the only distinction is
the
Suicide Squad.
Exactly. And we have a very special guest today, right, Hunter?
That we do. Stephanie Moran back on the show.
Back at it again, round 3.
Yeah.
Round 3. Nobody else has done 3 rounds.
3 strikes.
Yeah.
You're out.
You're out.
Yeah.
So make it count, Stephanie.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, for once, make this good. Make this good. This is your third chance, Stephanie. All right, so yeah, we'll be talking today about the Suicide Squad, a James Gunn movie, DC movie. You know the DC universe, Hunter?
I haven't heard.
You familiar with it?
I haven't heard of it. And
yeah, it's the one that isn't Marvel.
No,
The
other one.
Yeah, the one with the Bat guy.
Oh, and they also have the
Bat guy.
Superman.
And the Bat guy.
And the Bat guy.
And the Bat guy.
And no further examples.
No, because that's the only character they like to use.
Up until now, my
friend. Up until now. Now we got Pokemon. Pokemon Man?
Pokemon Man.
Now we have Polka Dot Man.
Yeah.
I wish we got Pokemon Man.
Yeah, right.
And of course my friend King Shark, the one and only, the big Kahuna. So we're gonna talk for 10 or so minutes, non-spoiler thoughts on the movie, and then we'll give you a warning, folks at home, when we'll be talking spoilers and who the hell dies in this thing, in this crazy movie. So so just to set up a little bit, I won't set up too much. I'm not gonna. It's not because it's not a regular episode, okay? Because we're the NYC Actors Talk Film. We are the NYC Actors Talk Film.
I like how you said that. We are the NYC actors that talk film. Okay, you're the.
So obviously, this is a sort of sequel, sort of soft reboot to 2016 Suicide Squad. It came out. Critically panned. Audiences were hot and cold with it. Some loved it, some didn't. But overall, 20-something on Rotten Tomatoes. It's considered a bad movie. No one really likes it all that much. But it made a shit ton of cash. So of course they were gonna make a sequel. So there were a few directors in mind before James Gunn came along. So there were a few directors in consideration, like Mel Gibson, Ruben Fleischer, but. Because of, and we won't get into it because it's a whole can of worms, but James Gunn got fired from Marvel because of tweets, and he was available, and so DC snatched him up, and he was like, and they were like, okay, so James, choose any property, you can literally choose any property, and we'll do it, we'll make this movie with you, and so they were kind of pushing a few franchises. To him, maybe do Superman, or maybe do, or maybe, something, funny, maybe a funnier character. And he was like, I want to do the Suicide Squad. He was very into the old 70s Suicide Squad comics. So he wanted to kind of make one with that kind of vibe. So, yeah, so he's the director, the one and only director, but the director they chose for the movie. Let's just go around and talk about our initial thoughts.
I thought it was great. I think those movies are hard to come by. I was pleasantly surprised. I had a lot of fun.
Cool, Hunter?
Yeah, in that same conversation, I was like, my expectations are so low.
Solo a Star Wars story?
Solo a Star Wars story.
Very good, very good.
And one concern being John Cena. I was like, and the vibe on the trailer just looked like so different, and I didn't know if I would like it. And
Are you a James Gunn fan? Are you a James Gunn fan?
I like Guardians of the Galaxy. I like all those movies actually, but I wouldn't know any other film that he did. So I don't know. My expectations were still low though. But then right when the movie started, I literally was like, like the song started playing, and I was
Fresh
like,
out of the gate, it was like, oh, this is gonna be.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was all in, and then I mean, I loved it. I probably one of my favorite like superhero, anti-hero, whatever you want to call it, movies of all time.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'm a huge James Gunn guy. I absolutely adore the Guardians movies. They're my favorite Marvel movies by far. And I also like his other work, like Slither, really good horror movie. I'm sure you've seen that, Stephanie.
I did, yes.
Yes, I had a feeling.
Yeah.
You're a horror gal. So yeah, that's a solid horror flick. I like Super. It's pretty messed up, and some of it maybe is like a little too far, but it's a bold vision, and I do like that movie. And yeah, so I was very excited for this movie because of that, not because of anything else really besides that it's a James Gunn movie. Because yeah, hated the first Suicide Squad, but I was very confident that this was going to be great, and I loved it too. Obviously, I mean, this is just up my alley. It's about, it's crazy. It's a vision. It feels like a movie with characters that you like and you want to root for. That and these characters, of course, aren't like Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman. They'll kill people. They'll kill innocent people. They'll eat people, and like my friend King Shark, and it's crazy in a way, and more bold than almost any superhero movie I've seen, especially at least in a very long time. So yeah, I also loved it.
Yeah, it took chances, like
Yeah.
like lots of artistic like chances too, which I really liked. Like you could really tell that James Gunn was in full control of it.
Yeah, and I also think that because we've been so inundated with superhero film and television recently, it's nice to see something like this where, I mean, they try to sprinkle in like morally gray, plot lines in superhero movies, but like this is perfect because it's like there's no question that there's like you're rooting for them, but they're not necessarily the good guys, and that's always fun to watch.
And what's so great about it too is that it's like D-list, maybe even like Z-list villains. You know what I mean? It's like it's like bad guys that aren't even great at being bad guys. It's like it's just like they're losers, and like it's different in a way from Guardians because they were kind of losers too, but like it's sort of like a redemption thing, and deep down they're like good people. They're just like either they were either in a bad environment or whatever. They doubt themselves, but this one, like they'll say they'll kill someone and then they'll do it, or they'll backstab each other. They'll say that and then they'll actually do that. Like it's very different from Guardians in that respect, but you still root for them, which is interesting. And Z-list indeed. We got Pokemon Man, we got Polka Dot Man, we got King Shark, who I don't know if you know, but is my friend. And well, who else? We got like, who does Pete Davidson play in this? Like Blackguard? Oh, sorry, what?
Ratcatcher 2.
Ratcatcher, not even the one.
Don't be mistaken, not Ratcatcher.
It's Ratcatcher 2. We have all these weird characters that would never be in any other DC movie but this one.
Weasel at the beginning. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Weasel, my other best friend.
Nightmare fuel.
So so James Gunn is able to make us root for even those kind of characters, without making it like cheap or like they're just kind of friends at the end for no reason. Like it feels earned, like it, and it's like just like all of his movies. It's just like strange. It's funny. It's also emotional though. Like there were a few points that I teared up, and it made me feel things, and but it was also the action was so inventive, and like what were some of your favorite like action moments?
For me, it was when I don't know how much I can say because I know we're still doing.
Oh, that's true. We are in non-spoiler territory.
But there's a part in the film, and this is not going to be any surprise, where Harley Quinn is running amok, and there's just really this amazing visual where they've put in this like flower effect behind her as she's like running through the halls, and it's just like they're like the whole thing. You're just kind of looking in awe at it, and she just had so many great scenes that I feel like she wasn't really fully utilized in Suicide Squad from 2016. I feel like because the focal point was the Joker and stuff, and so they really used her in this film, and it was so fun to see. So I think that's one of my favorite without giving too many spoilers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so bad at not like.
Don't ruin it. Come on, honey.
No, all I'll say is that there's like a thing, or I'll just say this.
Oh, that thing. Yeah, that thing.
Yeah, there's a thing, and it's really awesome. No, I'll just say this: that the dynamic between Idris Elba and John Cena, like, there's action stuff between the, and like there's stuff.
Right. There's an action moment between those two characters that you really liked.
John Cena and Idris Elba, their chemistry is like off the charts. It seems like, and yeah, just perfect.
Yeah, great. So yeah, I kind of have to agree with you, Stephanie. I think that Harley Quinn action scene was amazing and one of the best needle drops of the whole movie too. I have that song in my head now. I mean, I might have known that song before, but James Gunn wants, just like Guardians, like we'll choose these like oldies that not a lot of movies use, but he uses those songs to great effect. And I love that moment too. And we all love it. We think it's great. Is there anything else to say, non-spoiler wise?
I don't think. What would you consider this film? Do you think it's a sequel? Do you think it's a reboot? What do you think?
That's a good question. I think initially when I walked out of it, because I've seen this movie twice, because I wanted to see my friend again, King Shark. And I think the first time I finished it, I was like, yeah, it was kind of a sequel because Captain Boomerang's in it. That's not a spoiler. Rick Flag is in it. Amanda Waller's in it. Viola Davis, played wonderfully by Viola Davis. And Harley Quinn, of course, is back. So it's not like a total reset because those characters and those actors are back, but there's not a lot of references to 2016 Suicide Squad, Hold the V.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's like, I think intentionally so. So I think it's kind of a soft reboot where you can kind of count it as a sequel if you liked the first one, but if you didn't, you can also be like, okay, Harley knows these characters, but that's all you really need to know. Yeah, because what I love about this movie is it kind of just jumps you right into it. Like, all right, this is the Suicide Squad. Like, get in. Like, we're starting the mission.
I'm like,
Well, that's something that the 2016 version really helped out with. It's like, oh, we know. It doesn't matter if it's like a reboot or if it's a sequel or if it's whatever it is. We know what this is. Let's just start the story here.
Right. I think to this movie's advantage, there was another one already, so you can kind of just be like, look, you get it.
Yeah.
Let's move forward.
And I will say that everything, because I haven't seen it since 2016, right? But everything that I liked about that movie, it was in this movie, and there's way more to it. It actually had some heart to it. So everything that you liked about the 2016 movie, if you liked anything, it's here, and there's more.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, I think by far the best DC EU movie that has been out so far. Like, by far, it's the best one. I mean, like, just kind of what we were saying, but like, it's an actual movie with characters and a plot and characters that you can root for and you want to see more of. So that's really like, that's like basic like what you should have in a superhero movie or in a movie in general, but like because the DCEU or these new DC movies are so like hit or miss that it's so this is still rare, but like hopefully we get some more movies like this now, because I like Shazam. That was a vision by the director. It didn't feel totally like hackneyed studio or anything like that. It just felt like a guy wanting to make a movie. This one does too. Birds of Prey I really liked. I think this movie is better, but I did like the way they represented Harley Quinn in that movie, and she's great in this too. She has her moments. She's not the main character, but she has her moments, and all these characters have their moments.
Yeah.
I think what was unique about this one too is that it wasn't trying to be anything else, and that really worked to its advantage. Like I feel like there's been so many times I watch a DC movie and I'm like, they're trying to be the Avengers, they're trying to be Marvel, they're trying to do stuff. Even some of the comedic aspects. Like this was so, like it was sort of like if Marvel made like a really raw, raunchy kind of action movie. Like it goes beyond even how the Avengers and Marvel in general, they do like to kind of have some comedic levity to their movies, but this was just like pure craziness, which I like, because it was like he just took it and made it his own completely, which I admire.
Yeah, and it's bold because, like, once again, anyone could die in this movie, and a lot of characters do die in this movie. And Marvel can't do that, or they can't make rated R movies, really. I'd be very surprised if they ever make a rated R movie, but DC can. They've shown that a few times now, that they want to make rated. Oh, sorry, yeah.
Need to lean into that. Like they really need to lean into the fact that that's something that they should be sort of trying to harness a little bit more.
Exactly, and I think that's kind of the advantage they could have over Marvel if they continue this road, is that no, you don't like compete with Marvel by being Marvel. You compete by doing something that they can never do.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's what that's what Christopher Nolan's Batman did. Like he did something that was very different at the time for superhero movies, right? He put this pretty serious approach to them. And they're some of the best, they're some of my favorite films of all time. So I think if you kind of have to lean into whatever your dream or your vision is.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Are we ready for spoilers?
Yeah, are we ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it.
Audience, if you're not ready, if you haven't seen the movie, go to the theater and see the movie. Or it's on HBO Max, but go to the theater.
Yeah, I prefer the theater, but if you can't go or you're not comfortable going, check it out on HBO Max. It's very accessible.
Exactly.
It's a fun movie. So yeah, that's our non-spoiler thoughts. We are in spoilers now. We are in spoilers. Let's talk about my best friend, King Shark. If I had a favorite character in this movie, it would be him, because
No, really?
yes, actually, I know it's a bit. I was trying to prep you guys for this truth bomb, okay? So yeah, King Shark is a good friend of mine, and he's very good in this movie. He's
what do you like about him? What do you like so much about him?
Well, he's curious. He's he has a dad bod. He's a shark. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Absolutely.
He is a shark. But what I love about the Guardians movies is kind of in that character where, like, this is such a weird fucking thing to have in this movie, like a walking, talking shark god thing, and it's like one of the most compelling things in the movie. It should not work at all, but instead it's like almost the heart of the movie, where like he's not just like funny, and I love this shit, Hunter, but like it's weird and strange, but also like it kind of makes you tear up a bit.
Oh, it does. No, specifically that scene where he's like looking at the weird like fish or whatever in the water, and he's like, friends.
Like new dumb friends.
Yeah, new dumb friend. And I was like, oh man, this is such a like weird but like beautiful scene for some reason.
Like you're laughing, but you're also going, oh.
Yeah, I know, right? He's
and also that like he's lonely. You know that,
Yeah.
like, when everyone is out, at the bar and he can't go obviously because he's a walking talking shark man. Like, he has to stay in the van, and like, instead of like making a joke out of it, like, you just like sit with him in that van for like 10 seconds, just going, just looking around. There was a scene before where he's looking at like a couple kiss, and he's just like, with those dead shark eyes, just like looking at the world, and it's like beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like, and Sylvester Stallone, obviously, just a few lines. So, I can't say it's like my favorite performance, just because I think it's mostly because of like the way they created this character, like, visually and everything. But he's perfect. It's kind of like Vin Diesel as the Iron Giant, or Vin Diesel as Groot.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, you just need a few lines from this actor, and Sylvester Stallone kills it in that regard. But yeah, what a wonderful creation.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was reading too. Apparently, he didn't say who they brought in, but apparently they brought in a few different actors to like try it out and voice the character. But ultimately, he called Sylvester Stallone, and it just like
How could you
blossomed.
not? Yeah.
Like, and I brought up the Groot thing on, like, we were walking back after the movie, and I was like, but this scene, like, it's just a little bit different for some. I can't point it out, but it's just a little bit. There's a little bit more heart to it than like other things like it, you know.
Mhm.
And
Really, I would have to disagree, only because I feel very enamored, and I feel like the Iron Giant and Groot are very touching characters too. So I feel like in a good way, he's kind of similar to those characters.
yeah, I think what I was getting, and you're probably gonna disagree with me about this too, but I feel like for Groot, I feel like anybody could have done it. Not anybody, but like there's a few people that could have done it. But for this,
I hear you. I hear you.
oh, this is so strictly like Sylvester Stallone. I don't know why, but I couldn't picture like anybody else doing it in such like a heartfelt way.
That's true. I mean, his line deliveries are very
Yeah.
Stallone-y, where he's
Yeah.
just like, we were talking about this before, but like, hand, and like, he'd be like trying to read a book and it's upside down, and he's like, me so smart. And it's like, that's very Stallone. So I see your point. I don't agree, but I do see your point. I do see your point.
Mm.
And he has some of the best moments in the movie. Like that hand sequence. Like, what makes that moment for me isn't just that he goes like, "Hey, look, my hand," and then Waller's like, "Yes, very good hand," and then he just kind of looks at everyone like, "See." I'm in this conversation too, guys. Okay, I'm contributing to this conversation. Okay, so it's just wonderful in that regard. But like, besides like, and Weasel, of course, amazing character. What an arc.
Yes. Well, okay. I have a question for you guys.
Oh yeah.
What do you think about that first 10-15 minute scene, and where they all?
Oh yeah. Let's get into that, because the first like 10, 15 minutes, it's like we're introducing all these characters, and then most of them die.
Yeah, because I was getting ready for these characters to, for some, maybe I didn't read into this film at all. I think I saw the.
Yeah, I had a feeling like some of them would bite the dust pretty early on, like Pete Davidson. I was like, oh yeah, you're definitely dead, dude. But like, what I think helps sell that moment is Harley Quinn is there. So you're like, oh well, Harley Quinn's there, she won't die, because like really she's the only character that we know. Like, okay, she probably won't die, but like anyone else is fair game.
Yeah, because I wasn't expecting like there to be basically 2 waves of members coming in.
Yeah.
And they basically, like, I guess, well, they didn't use them as collateral. I mean, they're using all of them as collateral a little bit, but like they didn't. I guess what happens? He one of them sells them out.
Oh yeah. Pete Davidson's character
Right.
sells them out.
And
And that's great. That's what I was kind of alluding to before in the non-spoiler section. Like, yeah, like they'll backstab each other.
Yeah.
And obviously Peacemaker also near the end of the movie, but we'll get into that. But and so all these characters die, and then Waller's like, all right, bring in the B team or the second team or whatever, and then they come in, the Suicide Squad logo behind them. It's great.
Yeah, the use of like text or whatever in this movie is like perfect.
Someone said it. It's like a comic book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like so, I don't know. I loved it. It was so artistic, and I haven't seen a lot of movies do that before. You know.
Yeah, once again, Marvel would never.
No,
No.
absolutely not.
No.
I mean, they'll do like title, like, okay, this is, I don't know, they're in Italy. Oh, they're in, I don't know, where do they go? Where do the Avengers go?
Where do the Avengers go?
I don't know. They go to New York. They go to New York a lot. They go to space sometimes, so it'll say space. But you know, they won't do like out there like comic-y panel, you know, comic book panel stuff like that, where it's like, meanwhile, Harley is doing this, you know, and it's like, yeah, that's like bold stuff, and not only is it just like, it's not just text, it's like part of the environment.
Yeah, the part where it was like, I forget, there was something on the no, it was the stuff on the roof. There was some stuff on the roof, and they like started to zoom in, and you could see all the pieces start to go away, and you realized that it was just the pieces of tape and stuff that were lined up perfectly to you know, read out whatever. I don't remember what part it was, but it was just so smart. Each one was so unique, and it blended so well with the scene that it wasn't sort of like this, like it didn't take you out of it. It made you fall more into it.
I mean, they can do that, and Marvel can't, right? Because like, I feel like Marvel has this like set in stone. This is what people like. This is what works. We're gonna do this.
It's also
every single movie.
It's also that's sort of been, that's just how movies. I mean, we don't really have very many movies that go like this. This is very unique, right? Like a lot of movies have those title cards, like, you know, 10 years later.
No, yeah.
But I remember, I think it was a couple of years ago, reading this article where they were talking about how with the, you know, more use of smartphones and texting, they were having to find new ways, directors were having to find new ways of showing text on screen. And so you're seeing that now. You see like the bubbles come up on screen as the characters on their phone and stuff like that. So I think this is actually going to be like a new thing that a lot of directors maybe start to experiment with, because it just gives so much more to the scene, right? Like,
well, it gives more personality to it. It's like, you know, like I can't see anyone else directing it because it feels so James Gunn. It's not like, oh, the studio came in and like interfered. Like, no, this is like purely his vision. And, you know, Marvel has been, you know, there's been a lot of criticism with Marvel that like, yeah, they kind of feel samey, you know, it doesn't feel like a director's vision all the time. And like there are some examples like Taika Waititi and James Gunn and a few others, but like I get that criticism, and this is coming from someone who likes the Marvel movies quite a lot. But I totally get that argument. Like, we're not going to review Black Widow, at least not this year, but like, you know, it was fine. I thought, you know, it was perfectly serviceable, but it didn't feel like a vision. It didn't feel like it wasn't invoking anything from me in that way.
Yeah, and I think they started off doing that because they wanted it to feel cohesive, but because they've come out with so many now, it just feels like, okay,
sometimes 4 a year. Like this year, apparently there's going to be 4.
Like I have no interest in watching. Like they're fun to watch. Like I like to binge watch them after like a few days sometimes, but like I just find that so much of my viewing experience has to do with the vision of the director. And that's why, like the, you know, uniquely, like I love Wes Anderson for that reason, where it's like uniquely that director, right? Same with this. It's like, it's just so uniquely him, and it feels very exciting to watch stuff like that, because I do genuinely think he started like that. He's done something with that, and I think we're going to see more of that creative use of text.
Yeah, Hunter's like, yeah, I agree. Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
No, the one that pops into my mind is when like there's an explosion or something like that. They break out of a car or something like that, and there's fire, and it says something, and I was like, dude, that like doesn't take, like, it like almost puts you more into the story. It feels like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
where,
and
like,
it's just even that more immersive, and also, but also, like, it says Operation this, and they're like, and then one character's like, oh, actually, we're gonna do this first, and then it changes.
Yeah.
They're injecting personality into these scenes, so like, you know, it's not just a scene of exposition now. Now it's like, oh, a director is really, you know, playing with this moment more, you know, visually, you know, and it's more fun that way.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, let's just run off some of these characters that we like, because I think that's obviously the biggest success of this movie. So like, yeah, the plot is pretty simple. They, you know, the B team or whatever, Blood Sports team, you know, is just going in to get some information about this huge ass starfish creature, and you know, they think at first, oh, we're there to like stop it, but really they're just there to get info relating to the fact that the U.S. was involved with the capture of this creature, and so that's really interesting, I think, and I think we should touch on that just a bit. But I like that they went there. They're like, yeah, it's not just like this foreign country that's involved with this. Like, no, the USA was involved with this, and really the villain, because really the villain of this movie is kind of the USA.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, her being Canadian, she kept looking over at me.
Right, so you were fine with it. You weren't triggered by that.
And I was like, sorry.
Sorry.
Well, even the part where Waller gets like hit over the head at the end to try to stop her from doing
such a satisfying moment.
Like,
oh yeah.
But it's like there's so many moments where they're really hitting it on the nose. Where you have this group of villains.
Yeah, they hit her on the nose.
Yeah, exactly. They're trying to conduct this you know, trying to take out this creature or this project or whatever, and then you realize that the real villain is the organization.
Capitalism.
Yeah. It's so good because you don't see that in superhero movies. Like, it's always like.
Because I'm not super familiar with the comics of Suicide Squad, so maybe you can back me up on this, Stephanie. But like, the point of the Suicide Squad is like, Amanda Waller is getting all these villains so they can do like shady government stuff, so that if anything bad happens, they take the fall.
Basically, yeah. And then it's just like, it's like, you know, if they die or if they don't survive, it's like, you know.
Yeah, they're expendable. Like, that's why they use like Z-list, D-list DC villains, because it's like, well, we can just kill any of them and it won't matter.
I think there is some sort of like theorem or something in the comics where it can bring them back. I don't know how much they actually used it, but there was something that they could bring them back and use them again, and kill them again. They kind of became like this army of
you know, if they ever do that, you know who I'd want them to bring back? My man Pokemon.
Oh, dude, when he died, I was like, what the fuck? He was at his happiest. He was like, I'm a superhero.
because Polka Dot Man's arc is like, I want to like, ooh, you heard that? You heard that thunder? No?
Oh,
yeah. There we go.
Now we're getting it.
Now we're talking about Polka Dot Man. But, you know, his whole arc is like, you know, kind of confronting, you know, his mom, you know, like he sees his mom in everyone, which is such a bonkers idea.
That's so wild.
Like this is fucked up.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Like, even when he's dancing with those girls at the bar or the, you know, the club, they just all look like his mom to him. It's messed up. That's like some super shit right there. But yeah, like, you know, that's his whole arc, is like, you know, like being self-confident and like, you know, being like, no, screw you, mom. And that happens and then he dies. Yeah. Which I love, because you don't see it coming. Yeah. And it's sad, you know what I mean? It's not like a, you know, it's sort of a redemptive moment for him, but he dies immediately and you're kind of just left with that at the end, which is something that Marvel doesn't really do. So once again, like, yay DC.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what's so interesting about this concept, and that's why I was so excited when the first one came out. I was a little bit let down after watching it, but I was so excited to see it done on the big screen, because it's been done in like some of the cartoons, and I think it was done in Arrow, which is TV shows, but it's like such a cool idea, because it's like, yeah, all of these people are so disposable, so you never know. Like, it's kind of like Game of Thrones. You don't know who's gonna die. Like, it could be anyone. No one's safe. So it's interesting to watch that.
But yeah, like let's talk about the acting from that character. I'm gonna butcher his last name, so I'm just gonna say David. He was in The Dark Knight. He's in the Ant-Man movies. He's a character actor. You see his face all around. But I thought he played the character wonderfully. I wish we saw like maybe just a little bit more from the character. I did like what we saw, but like I felt like maybe to like, you know, make it a real gut punch. Like maybe we got maybe a few more moments with him, but I did like what he was doing. It was a great performance. It was like kind of pitiful, tragic, but like because he's like suicidal, you know, and like, you know, like he kind of wants to just whatever, like if I die, I die, you know, I'm so messed up. But some of the comedy comes from like his awkwardness, and he's like, you know, like in that scene where they kill all those innocent people accidentally, you know, and they're trying to cover their ass, he's just like, oh no, I imagined them as my mom and I killed them. And it's just like, and that's great, you know what I mean? Like that's how you get the comedy out of that character, like not through like a quip, but like just through like, okay, what is this character? Okay, how do we make that funny? And that's how they made it funny, you know? Because he doesn't care.
Yeah, one of the things that I liked about that character too is that he was the only person that noticed that Milton was there, and nobody else know. And that made him so much more likable to me, and that made me sad when he died because I was like, he noticed.
Yeah, like the dumbest DC character, and like you feel for him.
Yeah. Also, something I don't know. I read this about the actor, that he was born with a skin condition that caused him to like break out or whatever, and kids used to make fun of him growing up, and they nicknamed him Polka Dot. And I was like, that's a hell of an arc for that man right there. That is
seriously. Yeah. It's like, who's laughing now? I mean, yes, I'm still Polka Dot Man, but but hey, I'm in a big blockbuster though, and you know, I'm thriving right now. Mm-hmm. I'm Polka Dot Man.
Yeah, he takes it back.
Yeah, so that's a great performance. Let's quickly go through some of the rest of them. So, who else do we want to mention?
John Cena!
Peacemaker. So, I thought he had some of the best lines of the movie. He was very funny and likable. Like, he's a piece of shit, especially near the end of that movie, but once again, you kind of feel for him. And you know, like he's basically like a far right crazy motherfucker who'll kill men, women, and children for peace. Like it's great. Like that's a great character. That's a great concept for a character. Like it's just like, yeah, it's like if Captain America was just like fucked up. You know, it's just like these American kind of ideals but taken way too far, you know, but that's like also some of the comedy from the movie is like that idea of like, yeah, like he's so extreme and so like, yes, I'm gonna do this now, you know. It's like a parody of Captain America almost. I love it, but yeah, it's funny and you feel for him. Like he does like terrible things at the end. He kills Rick Flag, our buddy Rick Flag, who was a nothing character in the first one and became like one of the best characters of the movie. I don't know if that was just me or not, but like I actually liked his performance a lot, and like he was just like the exact opposite of Peacemaker. Like, you know, will do his duty for the country, but like knows his limits. Like, okay, like this is wrong though. Like, you know, like we shouldn't be doing this. I have a line, and you know, Peacemaker doesn't. So like they fight and everything, and that's an interesting dynamic there. And so like, yeah, Peacemaker kills him, and it's like, wow, like almost completely irredeemable. But then like that moment where he talks to Peacemaker, like, what a joke, you're a joke. And like you see his face and he's like taken aback, and he's like, you can tell like he regretted doing that. So like that's what I mean, like it's shades of nuance in these, you know, crazy villain characters.
Yeah. John Cena, this is like the best I've ever seen him.
Oh, by far. I mean, like I always liked him. I liked him in not Transformers, Bumblebee. Did you see that one? I thought he was actually quite funny in that. And he's good in Trainwreck. Did you see Trainwreck?
Oh yes.
Oh,
yeah,
no,
I did.
He's very funny in Trainwreck too. So it's not like he was never funny before, but like this is his best role because he gets a lot to do in this movie. He has great lines.
The quality of this role too, like it just blended so well to all of his strength.
I haven't liked him so much since he played Fred's dad.
Fred's dad. I almost forgot he was Fred's dad.
Dude, he was funny in that, and then I was like, oh, like young me, I was like, oh man, I'm excited to see John Cena act. And I haven't necessarily liked anything else that he's been in. And then this, I was like, he's back. He's funny as hell.
Yeah, I think he's great in this. It's a wonderful performance, and he's getting his own show, HBO Max. I don't know if he stayed for the credits, but he is alive.
No, we didn't see that one. We left after the Weasel one. Yeah,
okay, so if you stay for the credits,
yes,
you find out he is alive. He's not dead. And so he'll be back for a show, which I'm like brilliant, like literally the perfect character to do this, because now he's done like the worst shit in this movie. So like, how do you make him sympathetic again, you know, or how do you like explore that more? So that's interesting.
Yeah.
And so I can't wait to see more.
Yeah, I was excited because I knew that he was getting a show before I saw the movie, right?
But like some people are speculating like, oh, maybe it's a prequel because like maybe he could die in this, and
Yeah.
we, before the post credit scene, like we think he is dead.
Right.
Oh no, and then because we didn't stay for that credit scene, right? So I was like, oh, I guess it's a prequel. I'm not as excited for that. But now that he like didn't die and it's not gonna be a prequel, I'm so excited for that show. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, totally. What else? Let's talk about Margot Robbie, of course, as Harley Quinn.
She does such a good job playing that.
The Joker's girlfriend. She's crazier than him. You know.
I just loved like some of these moments. My favorite moment of hers. I know I mentioned the one where she was sort of running down the hallway, but also when she was chained up. I didn't want to say this one when we were doing the spoiler free, but when she was chained up and like he turns around and she kind of like opens her eyes, and I was like, she's gonna do something crazy. And like that's the thing, you don't know what to expect from her. Like she's sort of like she's so carefree and specifically, I don't think she really got to do very much in the first Suicide Squad, but
but she does do a lot in Birds of Prey. I don't know if you've seen that one.
That's what I was gonna say. She started to get to like do a little bit more in Birds of Prey, and this one she just I love the part where she like I think she comes out she comes around the corner and they're like trying to climb up the rope and she's like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, we're coming in to save you. And
hey, I can go back if you guys want.
Yeah. She's like, no damsel in distress here. She gets herself out.
Yeah, no, I love it. She's chaotic in this, and you know, she plays chaotic very well. I mean, you know, she's not the main character, so she can do all this crazy shit. And you know there's not like, you know, a lot of story baggage with her, so she can do all these crazy things. And yeah, she has some of the best moments, and that action scene, as we alluded to before, was amazing, and a great music choice. The action, like you really felt it, like you felt the punches. You know, it was dynamic, like direction wise, and with the flowers, and like seeing everything through her eyes. And like her justifying killing people, you know, it's just great. And like, you know, that scene before where he kills the guy, or when she kills the guy, it's great because it's like, yeah, like she's definitely an anti-hero now, but like you can definitely see like, you know, she's grown, but she still isn't like a perfect person by any means, because it's like, great, you know, the red flags when it comes to future boyfriends, but she's like, look, I know the red flags, and so I'm gonna do the healthy thing and murder him.
Exactly.
You know, so that's wonderful, and I think it's some of the best Harley Quinn stuff we've seen on screen. Hunter, your thoughts on Harley? What do you think? Do you like her?
Terrible. No. Margot Robbie's perfect as Harley Quinn. It's another thing where it's like, same with John Cena as Peacemaker, Sylvester Stallone as the Shark.
My best friend, King Shark.
Yes. I can't imagine anybody else doing it. You know, so it's perfect.
Yeah, and I hope she's like the constant like character in all these movies. Like if they make another one, like Harley Quinn should be like the only character that comes back, I think. Maybe my best friend, King Shark, but
and if you want to bring back John Cena too, like,
and look, if you want to bring back Weasel, that's fine too. You know, get his moments to shine. You know, he killed 27 children. But you know, like but not only in these Suicide Squad movies, but just like her own movies, you know, or maybe other team up movies. Like I wanted to just see more of her. That it's the only time I've wanted a character in these movies to like keep coming back. Because now it's like, okay, you can do interesting things with this character. Like she can grow a little more. You know, we've already started off in an interesting place now. She's not tied down to the Joker anymore. It's like, yeah, please get as far away from this Joker as possible.
Let's get Jared Leto back, baby.
Hey, less condoms and dead rats on set. From what I've heard, actually more rats, but they're alive.
Yeah, more rats.
And speaking of rats, let's talk about Ratcatcher 2.
Ooh.
Played wonderfully by Daniela. I'm gonna butcher her last name, but if I could choose, or if there was a character that is the heart of the movie, I think it's her. I think she has the most sincere moments of the movie. She's an all around good person. I mean, I guess she was in jail for something, but her story is so sad, and but also it's not like, I had like a abusive bad father per se. I mean, he was a complicated man, but like it wasn't so black and white like that. So I thought that was a really touching story about like, like I love my dad, and he succumbed to his problems, and now I just want to make him proud. And all the stuff with the rats are adorable. Sebastian the rat, my second best friend in the whole wide world.
Yeah, no, I loved her. I think she's the only one that isn't from the comics.
Well, I know there is other rat catchers, so I don't know if like this specific like character is like from the comics, but I know there are like other reiterations of rat catcher.
He sort of brought the heart out in all of them. It was like as soon as one of them was like pushing too far away from task or away from their truth, I think she kind of like pulled them back, which is nice. Like she was sort of like you said, the heart of it. She sort of brought them all back, which is nice. And I love the ending
when she's fighting the giant starfish man.
Yes.
She gets all the rats and everything, and then we cut back to the past where Taika Waititi, playing Ratcatcher #1, he says something like, rats are some of the loneliest creatures. If they can have purpose, then so can we. Something like that, and I really touching moment. Already great moment, but just to add that little like, okay, let's reiterate like her relationship with her dad and everything, and why rats, and it's beautiful. It's a great moment, and we care about her so much throughout the whole movie with relatively like not so much screen time, but just enough that like we care. And when Peacemaker's about to kill her, we really like feel like no, don't do that.
Don't do that.
And so when Bloodsport comes in to save her, people were like applauding. They're like, yes! Yeah. And I think that, I think people, including me, reacted to that because we cared about Ratcatcher #2.
Yeah. Her and Bloodsport, their relationship too was like really touching. Like the conversation that they had on the bus was like amazing. Like it gave so much.
Right, because not only do we find out about her life, but also his and why he hates rats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is such an endearing thing too for some, like, because they become friends really, and like he can't stand rats, and like she,
he sort of becomes her like surrogate father a little bit, and likewise his.
I mean, he even says like, you remind me of my daughter.
Yeah,
which I think is sweet.
And even
because his relation to rats are like, he had an abusive father who would like, put him in a box if he was acting out or whatever, a box full of rats or whatever. So, and then it beautifully, and let's talk about Idris Elba, but I think he's wonderful. I think he's like an everyman type presence in this, where like, yeah, he's a bad guy for sure, and we get to see that especially in his first couple of moments with like his daughter, and he's saying like fuck you, and and he's like, look, I don't want anything to do with you or the Suicide Squad, and everything, but we know that there's a heart in there somewhere, and I think throughout the whole movie we finally see that with his decision to save people, to stop Starro, and to open up more by getting to know all these characters. So he's like, Polka Dot Man, that's your mom, King Shark, that's Num Num, like he takes in all these traits that all these characters have, and he's like, okay, I remember you. Mm-hmm. You can do this. This is how you can help. And so, by the end, we end the superhero movie on him like slowly opening up more to not only people but to rats, and it's a wonderful little moment where he's like, petting the rat, and he's slowly like more and more content with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's the big fight scene or whatever where she's telling all the rats to go to the starfish or whatever, and she's like holding Bloodsport, like making sure that like, oh, like it's okay, you know, as these rats are like running all over him. And I thought that was like a really great moment as well.
It is different than Deadshot. It's not just like just an assassin guy again. You know, he has a different energy where like he seems more like pissed about things. Like Deadshot was just Will Smith. I mean, like, you know, we like Will Smith, but you know, it's basically just Will Smith in that movie. But like Bloodsport is like, yeah, like peeved, but like he does have a little bit of good in him, and like, you know, once again, every man, and I think Idris Elba plays that wonderfully. And you know, I know him from The Wire and a couple of other movies and TV shows, but like this is one of the few times like he really works in these kind of movies.
Yeah, I think it's such a good
It's like this and Cats.
This and Cats, baby.
No, I think he really sort of embodies like that morally gray kind of
The Napoleon of crime. Sorry, I had to. He's the Napoleon of crime.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, you were saying?
I mean,
No, he's just, I feel like all of them hit this point at some point where you realize that they're all morally gray and they all have like a backstory and what got them there. And he's sort of going along sort of begrudgingly kind of doing it. And he slowly but surely opens up. Like at the beginning, it's sort of like he's like the teacher on like the substitute teacher on a school trip or something, or he's like, oh God, like all these kids. And then by the end of it, he becomes like a surrogate father to all of them, kind of like he's become to some extent. And that's why I think the whole, you know, fight at the end with him and Peacemaker's so great, because it's like they both kind of represent sort of leaders in the group in a way. Like I think Peacemaker thinks he's probably the leader, whereas Bloodsport is, and it's sort of like an interesting fight scene as well for that reason. But
yeah, and he has a cool, like, it's, once again, he's not just really good at shooting, like he can create weapons out of like nanotechnology or whatever. So like he has one gun and then he pulls out like this thing and he's like, okay, it's a bigger gun now, okay, let me just add this thing, and you know, it's like, it's interesting. It's like weird comic booky stuff like that.
yeah,
but it works. It's like, I mean, these crazy things that get like, it's like based in reality still for some reason, even though like it's
like you buy it, even though it's weird, you buy it.
Exactly.
Totally. And every time he started, you know, almost like a transformer, almost like putting together these like weapons. It was like I was like, what's it gonna look like?
Yeah, right.
Waiting for it to fully come to fruition. It's oh my gosh. And so I think they did such a good job with that. And I'm really glad they didn't just like cast him as Deadshot. Like I'm glad that they didn't.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
That would have just
felt
ridiculous.
wrong.
Does the man have a bad performance? Is he bad at anything?
No.
Even in Cats, he's good.
No, he's very
Well, what do you mean even in Cats? Of course he's good in Cats. What?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Cats is the greatest movie with the greatest performances of all time.
You're saying that like it's a joke, but yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, dude. Yeah, so great performances all around. Viola Davis obviously kills it. She's scary. She's perfect as that. She's so fucking scary. I think that's all that needs to be said about her. She plays those moments really well, and only a few, but like once she gets her comeuppance at the end, she gets hit in the head. It's great. We love to see it.
The starfish.
Yeah, what about him?
What'd you think?
I thought he was pretty cool. He's a good friend of mine.
Better than the lady that's like dancing Squidward.
Dancing Squidward, much better than Dancing Squidward. Starro, yeah, it's like a Justice League villain, right, Stephanie?
Yeah.
So I think that was pretty accurate, you know, like what he does and everything, and yeah, it's just like, it's hilarious, and it's just like, yeah, this is the third act. We have to fight this big ass starfish, and so it's like, you know, it's a wonderful third act, a lot of great moments. Like third acts are usually kind of the bad part of all these movies, but not this one.
No, I mean you had Harley Quinn going through its eyeball and swimming in its like eyeball goo as the rats came in, starting to, like you can't. I mean, it's really so unique, and that's like you said. Like the third act is always sort of like, okay, they're gonna fight the villain, they're gonna win, and okay, everything's gonna be fine. But like they just so weird, all the little starfish coming out of its armpits, going on like It was
That was
just
awesome.
so weird. It's
Yeah.
so weird.
That was so cool.
So well, yeah. There's something about it that worked really well.
It was
Yeah.
badass.
Yeah,
And that's my number one beef with superhero movies too, is that like, at the end it's like, all right, fight, just get the fight over with. All right, I know what's gonna happen. This was like really fun, and
Yeah, it was
just,
like keep the
so
fight
bizarre.
going.
yeah.
Just keep it going.
It's like, it's so bizarre. It's like these rats crawling up the starfish. What the
Yeah.
fuck?
Yeah,
It's
man.
so good.
Yeah, like it makes you love characters like King Shark and Ratcatcher 2. That's the biggest success of the movie to me. I loved it. So final thoughts, final ratings for the Suicide Squad.
My final rating is I give it a 4.5 out of 5. Because it had pretty much everything I wanted. It was perfect length too, like for a superhero movie. It wasn't too long, wasn't too short, and it just felt very well rounded. I laughed, I felt, sad. It's not like it just had everything that I wanted and things that I didn't even know I wanted in a superhero movie. Which, I mean, can't go wrong. So yeah,
No.
I
Yeah,
love it.
Hunter.
Yeah, 4.5 out of 5, 9.5 out of 10, however you want to view it. It was awesome. And also, I didn't say this. I didn't know that it was rated R before I watched it. So right when like heads started exploding, I was like, "What the fuck? This is amazing!" And so it just like exceeded expectations more than almost anything else has. I feel like maybe it was because my bar was so low, but I don't think that was it. Yeah, it has everything, like you said, like it has everything that you'd ever want. And stuff that you didn't even know that you needed.
Nice. And can we also rank King Shark? Like, is he your best friend? Is he like a good friend of yours?
He's a pretty good friend.
He's a good friend.
Yeah, I would say
He's a
pretty
Good?
I wouldn't say
only
he's my
only
best
good?
friend.
Only good?
I'd say maybe like Sebastian the rat might be my best friend.
Okay. I see how it is.
just
I see
'cause-
how it is, Hunter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just the way, yeah. But he's a good friend.
All right. I just want to reiterate this before we continue. King Shark is my best friend. I don't want this review to go out into the world and for people to not know that. He's my best friend. So I love this movie. I have very few issues with it. I think the middle is a bit slow. I think like even though the Harley Quinn stuff is great, it kind of stops the movie just a tad. I think like, maybe if we had a few more moments with like the main team before they rescue Harley, that would have been maybe just like even better. But that's like I'm picking those nits.
Yeah.
I'm
You're
picking the
up
nits.
nit, dog.
Yeah, dog. And yeah, dog.
Yeah, dog.
Yeah, dog. No dogs in the movie, so I got a docket points for that.
Yeah.
But there were plenty of rats. So 9 out of 10, 4.5 out of 5. It's a very special superhero movie, and I want more of it. Who knows if we will? But we got a movie like this in such a crazy culture that we live in now, where there's like 5 superhero things a week, it seems. This one stands out, and that's hard to do. So so major props.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stephanie, so much for being, as usual, such a great guest.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening to our The Suicide Squad episode. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, pretty much anywhere you listen to podcasts. We have a new miniseries next week, and it's John Candy. That's right, John Candy is our next miniseries. Tune in as we go through the biggest and most prolific work of his career. Starting with Stripes. We have a website, NYC Actors Talk Film. We have a YouTube channel, NYC Actors Talk Film, if you want to see video versions of our episodes. And all I gotta really say is, hand. Bye, folks.